Alright, this is video number 23 in the series. We're going to take a look at some examples in D major and B flat major for the first time. But as usual, we're going to start with some Dandelot syllable exercises. The first one's going to be switching between treble and bass clef, and then we'll move to some examples in alto clef. So let's get to that first example. So you can see in this one we're going to be switching pretty much on every note with a few exceptions, and we'll take it at a tempo about like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll give you a count of 4 like that. So go ahead and try to read in groups of 4 if you can. Try to read ahead. Let's go ahead and do this one. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. La, do, si, re, do, mi, la, do, mi, si, la, do, si, re, mi, si, la, do, sol, mi, fa, la, mi, do, re, fa, do, la, si, re, la, do, mi, sol, mi, sol, la, si, la, do, si, re, do, mi, la, sol, re, fa, mi, sol, fa, la, re, do, sol, si, fa, la, mi, sol, do, la, re, fa, do, mi, si, re, sol, mi, la, do, re, si, mi, la, mi, sol, la, do, mi, la, do, mi, la, do, mi, la, do, mi, la. And let's go ahead and move on to alto clef. So in this one, you can see we've got some ledger lines that we haven't seen before. We got that the fourth note is a high G. Try to use those reference points, the C's and G's that we've seen in the previous alto clef exercises. We'll take this at a tempo about like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll give you a count of 4 like that. Try to think in groups. I see lots of descending thirds. And put an accent on the first syllable of each one of your groups. And your groups might be different than mine. That's no big deal. Okay, let's go ahead and do this one. I'll give you a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sol, do, mi, sol, fa, re, si, sol, re, do, mi, sol, re, do, mi, re, si, sol, fa, mi, do, sol, fa, la, sol, mi, do, sol, re, do, la, fa, mi, re, si, sol, mi, do, si, re, do, la, fa, do, mi, re, la, fa, do, sol, la, mi, sol, re, fa, la, do, si, re, mi, do, sol, do. And we'll go ahead and finish up the syllable reading with one more example in alto clef. And it looks like this. You can see we've got some compound intervals in this one, wider leaps than we've seen before in alto clef. Let's go ahead and again try to use some syllable groupings. You can see some descending and ascending thirds. Other than that, some of it's pretty sporadic, but try to group it as is logical for you, and we'll take it at about the same tempo. Count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do, do, mi, sol, mi, do, la, sol, si, re, fa, mi, re, sol, do, mi, do, sol, mi, si, sol, fa, do, sol, sol, si, re, fa, do, la, mi, do, la, re, si, sol, do, la, sol, fa, re, si, do. All right, let's move on to some Danhauser. We'll look at the first example that we've seen in the key of D major. And number 130 looks like this. Take a look at it for a second and see if you can identify any modulations. You might think of the typical keys that are modulated to from D major. Give you a second. So you might notice in the B section, this piece takes the form A, B, A, that we have A major, that the entire B section is an A major before we start at the beginning again at the sign. So let's go ahead and put a stop sign there, and we'll go ahead and do an A major warm-up once we get to that stop sign, and that'll be the only place that we stop in this. We won't stop when we go back into D major at the beginning. And so when we come to that stop sign, we'll go ahead and do an A major warm-up, which will be something like this. La, do, mi, fa, re, si, sol, la. But since this is in the key of D major, we'll go ahead and do a D major warm-up first. This is, we're going to take it at the tempo of 116 beats per minute, and it's in 3/4, so go ahead and conduct a 3 pattern. 116 is about like this. 1, 2, 3, and I'll give you a count of 3 like that. But as I said, let's quickly do a D major warm-up. Re, fa, la, si, sol, mi, do, re. So the first note's la. All right, pay attention to those dynamics. Conduct a 3 pattern. Here we go. Give you a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. La, si, la, fa, sol, la, re, si, la. La, si, la, mi, la, si, la, fa, la, mi, re, do, si, la. La, si, la, fa, sol, la, re, si, la. La, si, la, mi, la, si, la, fa, la, mi, sol, fa, mi, re. Stop. La, do, mi, fa, re, si, sol, la. 1, 2, 3. Mi, do, si, la, sol, fa, mi, re, si, sol, fa, mi, do, si, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, si, la. Do, re, si, re, do, si, do, la. Do, re, si, re, do, si, la. Re, do, si, la. Re, do, si, la. Re, do, si, la. La, si, la, fa, sol, la, re, si, la. La, si, la, mi, la, si, la, fa, la, mi, re, do, si, la. La, si, la, fa, sol, la, re, si, la. La, si, la, mi, la, si, la, fa, la, mi, sol, fa, mi, re. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at example 132. And here it is. We're at a tempo of 100 beats per minute, this time in common time, or 4/4. Take a look at this one and see if you can identify any modulations, or if you can identify the form of the piece as well. So you might notice that the form of this piece is exactly the same as the last one, basically. So we've got an ABA form, and the B section happens to be in A major again. So we'll go ahead and put a stop sign there and do the same A major warm-up. And once we go back to the beginning, we won't do the D major warm-up again. We'll just go straight on. So that'll be the only place we stop. Conduct a 4/4 pattern. Pay attention to those dynamics. And let's go ahead and do this one. We'll do a quick warm-up for the key of D major. Re, fa, la, si, sol, mi, do, re. So the first note's la. And I'm going to give you a count of 4 on this one, just give you a full measure. The tempo is going to be about like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll give you a count of 4 like that. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. La, si, la, fa, re. Re, mi, re, si, la. La, si, la, mi, fa. Mi, fa, mi, re, do, si, la. La, si, la, fa, re. Re, mi, re, si, la. La, si, la, mi, fa. Sol, la, sol, mi, fa, mi, re. Stop. La, do, mi, fa, re, si, sol, la. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, mi. Mi, sol, la, si, do, re, mi. Do, re, do, si, la, sol, fa. Re, do, si, mi. Mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, re, do, si, la. Mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, re, do, si, la. La, si, la, fa, re. Re, mi, re, si, la. La, si, la, mi, fa. Mi, fa, mi, re, do, si, la. La, si, la, fa, re. Re, mi, re, si, la. La, si, la, mi, fa. Sol, la, sol, mi, fa, mi, re. All right, let's go ahead and switch gears a little bit and look at an example in B flat major, which we also haven't seen yet. So 140 is a relatively simple example. We don't have any modulations, but we do have a dynamic that we've never seen before. In the third system, we've got forzando, which is kind of a sharp accent that recedes pretty quickly. And then we've got a marking of dolce, which means sweetly, so we'll try to sing it as sweetly as we can. And we've got a tempo of 88, and we'll conduct a 2 pattern. Nothing much more to say about this one. Let's take this one at the tempo indicated. We won't take any repeats. Let's go ahead and do a quick B major warm-up. Si, re, fa, sol, mi, do, la, si. So our first note's fa. Tempo's going to be about like this. Ready, and. I'll give you a ready and like that, full measure. All right, here we go. Ready, and. Fa, fa, si, re, do, la, si. Fa, si, re, do, la, si, sol, fa. Do, la, si, re, fa, mi, re. Do, la, si, re, fa, mi, re. Fa, fa, si, do, re, mi, sol, do, fa, re, do, do, si. And we'll wrap this video up with one more example in the key of B flat major. And number 142 looks like this. Why don't you take a look at it for a second and see if you can identify any modulations that occur in the piece. Think about the keys that are typically modulated to from B flat major. And you might have noticed that we've got some E naturals, and that would be a signal that we are probably modulating into F major. So let's go ahead and put a stop sign in the fifth measure, since that seems to be a point where we could kind of use as a pivot point after that rest there. So we'll go ahead and stop there and sing an F major warm-up, which we are familiar with at this point. And then we're going to go ahead and put a stop sign in the third system there as well after that quarter rest. And we'll go ahead and reorient ourselves to the key of B flat major at that point by singing a B flat major warm-up there. We'll take this at the tempo indicated of 100 beats per minute. And that's going to be about like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and for this one we'll conduct a 4 pattern, and I'm just going to give you a ready and we'll come in on the C. So let's go ahead and do a quick B flat major warm-up. Si, re, fa, sol, mi, do, la, si. All right, I'll give you a ready and we come in on the C. Pay attention to those dynamics. Here we go. Ready and si, do, si, la, si, re, do, mi, re, do, si, la, si. Stop. Fa, la, do, re, si, sol, mi, fa. Ready and re, do, si, la, sol, la, do, fa, mi, fa, do, re, si, la, sol, fa. Fa, sol, fa, mi, fa, la, sol. Stop. Si, re, fa, sol, mi, do, la, si. Ready and la, si, do, re, mi, do, si, la, si, re, do. Si, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, re, fa, sol, la, si, do, re, mi, fa, re, do, mi, re, do, si. Alright, so that's going to do it for this video. In the next video, I'm actually going to be concluding the Danhauser book. We'll look at some examples in the relative minors of the keys that we saw today, so G minor as well as B minor. And then we'll continue our work with alto clef as well as switching between treble and bass clef, practicing score reading. So until then, till the next video, happy sight singing.